everyone to our lunchtime learning. This is our first session and we're kicking off with the Gatsby Benchmarks. So with me today, I've got my colleagues Sophie and Dina, and also we've got Alex from the London Enterprise Advisor Network team, who is on hand to answer all of your impartial questions and has great knowledge of the Gatsby benchmarks. So what we're going to cover the benchmarks. Obviously there are 8 benchmarks, but today we're going to be covering number 1, number 5, number 6 and number 7. We're going to be looking at the ways of developing links with employers, class activities related to careers and higher education, and careers, resources and useful websites. So there are 8 benchmarks, but the ones that we are able to help with, and where we know that sometimes schools and colleges are struggling with, is number 1, a stable careers program, and number 5, encounters with employers and employees, and number 6, experiences of workplaces and encounters with further and higher education. On the other benchmarks, we know that you are usually meeting these, like addressing the needs of each pupil, linking curriculum, learning to careers and personal guidance. So the ones where we are able to help is number 1, number 5, number 6 and number 7. So a stable careers program, I'm not sure if you are, as a college or a school, have a stable program. A stable program for us means that you should be starting at year 7, where you can introduce a careers program, maybe really easy, around the hidden careers. For instance, we do a program called Discover Me Quiz and Make Your Mark program, where we introduce careers, hidden careers from year 7. And we also have links with employment teams across our university to involve these in our workshops. Alex, are you able to give any further insight on what a good stable careers program looks like?
Absolutely, yep. So with the Stable Careers Plan, this is really about having a little bit of an academic calendar for your students and a program that's able to sustain itself. It's also about having some feedback opportunities from your students, parents, teachers, and any employers that you might work with. And it's also about just having your website really up to date so that anyone who's interested in working with the school, or anyone who wants to learn more about school careers programs, can see what provision you offer just by clicking on your website.
Brilliant, thank you. That's some really good, useful information. Number 5 is encounters with employers and employees. There's lots of opportunities for young people out there to have virtual work experience right now. We've put some links here for you. We've got connecting teachers with volunteers from a range of industry, mock interviews, CV type workshops and careers fairs, and NHS. We work alongside the NHS and run a careers fair with them. So here at Middlesex University, we are able to put you in touch with employers, come to meet employers on our campus with your students, so that they can get some experience with working with employers. Again, there's some useful links there. Alex, do you have anything more that you could support schools and colleges with employers and employees?
Yeah, absolutely. With the employers and employee encounters, they slightly move into what we'll just talk about in a moment with benchmark 6. But with benchmark 5, it can be a slightly lighter touch than full work experiences in the traditional knowledge. So really what I would always offer to schools is just having assemblies put on, just so they can have a touch point with people who have gone through various careers. And I always encourage school career leaders and schools on a whole to pull on their own network of teachers, to reach out to friends and family to get these employers into the school building for various things like we've listed there, and even Q&A panels.
Oh, brilliant. That's great. Thank you. And then there's obviously experience of workplaces. So you could have visits to unis, work for workplaces. We could have academics in industry that you could reach out to. You could have alumni talks within your school, for instance, where you invite all of your ex-students back to give something back to their school, which is a great way of getting some workplaces for your students as well, and engaging your students with students that used to attend that school. And research and on-site. There's some useful, there is a platform called Speaker for Schools, which is a great platform where you can engage with ranging speakers at your schools. This gives you access to 1,000 speakers and 1,900 state secondary schools that there, and there's a list of resources. Alex, have you got anything to add to number 6?
Yeah, benchmark 6 is quite a tricky one to achieve fully. So I would just say for anyone who's looking to try and get this embedded in their school is not to look at experiences off the workplace as we may have done in the past of sending students for 3 days to an office building, but really ensuring that they have an understanding of the breadth of different careers in any field, and that students can have a bit of a hands-on experience to have some kind of visceral piece of work at the end of it. That could be a log, a journal, it could be them physically making something, or even them trying out something within that chosen field for a day or an afternoon, and then getting a bit of feedback on it so they really know if they're good at it or if they've exceeded their own expectations.
Thank you. So then encounters with further and higher education. There is a package of higher education workshops, materials where HE will want to work with you, not just from Middlesex, that'll be right across the HE providers. So make sure that you're in touch with all of those. They all offer slightly different programs and workshops, visits to campus, virtual taster days, that we've worked quite closely with our MDX employment team there, and we have lots of useful graduate labour market information that we are able to share with young people. Alex, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I would just say if you're ever struggling to reach out to any FEs or HEs, talk to your local authority. They should be able to signpost you. And like we had just said, pretty much every single one of these has someone who's in charge of reaching out to schools and career leaders and everyone else. So
yeah,
the local authority is probably a good route to go to really engage.
Yeah, thank you. Then what can you do? So you can build links between heads of departments and employers. You can visit regional careers fairs where you get to meet other universities and employers, and your students will. You can have specialist careers fairs within your college, attend, like Move It for dance students, and obviously Create Your Futures right now is for the art and design industry that's happening with UCAS. Approach local employers and volunteering programs. There's lots and lots of online resources, Inspiring the Future for education employers, Speakers for Schools, which is great. Register on the STEM Learning website network, where you get lots of information and you'll have access to people from the STEM area. Identify your network within your school or college, like your parents, your alum. That for me is where you should be starting, and that will help you be able to meet all of your benchmarks. And create a database. There is a free database that you can use that's via the CEC website, which is over Compass or Tracker, where you can audit all of your Gatsby benchmarks, ensuring that you're tracking everything that's happening within your school. So keeping records accurate of destinations for your students that are leaving is good as well, because that can help you plan your future career pathways options for your students. And now I'm gonna, Alex, do you have anything to add to that?
The only thing I would add is if you're going to create a database and you've not yet done it to track your benchmarks, it's probably better if you don't start with Compass, but go straight to Compass Plus. That just means that you've got more teachers that can have oversight and can really help out anyone who's in charge. So it's not always down to one career leader. It'll just help with your legacy data and it'll let you see what students are at risk of becoming NEET, because you'll see who has and who hasn't had opportunities in your school. So it's just a little bit of a level up from Compass. So if you've not yet done that, go straight to Compass Plus.
Okay, thank you, Alex. So now I'm going to ask, has anyone got any questions for us?
So I suppose one question that lots of teachers and advisors might have is whether or what the significance of virtual work experience has over physical work experience, given the fact that some employers may not be able to have young people in physically into an organization. So under the benchmark where they are where they need to have links with employers, and part of that is kind of like experiences of having work experience, can the use of virtual work experience still be as powerful when kind of trying to meet the benchmark?
What do you think, Alex?
So with benchmark 5, for example, where it's just about the encounters and having that touch point with an employer, that's the one with assemblies and Q&As and mock interviews. We've really not seen much of a decline in the standard for them encounters. It's been fine virtually. It works almost more beneficially to engage more businesses that way as well, because rather than inviting an employer down for a morning and 2 hours commute either way, or whatever it might be, we can link more schools up virtually. With the work experience, however, whenever we want a full day or a bit more of a task-driven exercise, it's been harder. I would always prefer things to be done in person, but we also can't neglect the fact that a lot of jobs do just work virtually now. So that is the experience of the workplace. So it really depends on the opportunity you're trying to get. Some providers are better than others, but if you just talk that through with any other career leads, soundboard off each other, you'll get a better idea of what ones have been really useful for students and what ones are less so.
Thank you. Yeah. Is there any more questions?
So as an institution, we've been looking at the possibility of getting like a panel together. So is something like a panel like discussion suitable to kind of show that we're hitting that encounter with different employers? Is that something that we can do within like an assembly or something like that, just to provide that touch point with and also provide general careers advice and guidance to young people about kind of what opportunities are out there?
Alex, are you able to answer that question?
Absolutely. I think that's completely doable. It will definitely provide the insight. What I would say is if you are considering doing that, just making sure that there's a broad range of employers for that opportunity. Even depending on what kind of things you want to achieve and what things you want to promote, perhaps having students from a range of different avenues. Maybe not every student that's gone through the same educational pathway to end up where they've ended up. It just gives a broader insight into different ways we can find ourselves into career pathways and engaging with FEs and HEs.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
Is there some more kind of information about how your department is working with the like employability service at the university, for instance? Is there a way that I can find out a little bit more about that?
Can you just repeat that for me?
Yeah, is there a possibility to find out a little bit more about how the universities kind of work with the employability team at Middlesex, how it works with in terms of like putting them in touch with like schools and colleges?
Okay. I've got somebody here from our employability team. Dina, are you still on the call?
Yes, I am.
Are you able to answer that for us?
Yeah, so I work for MDX Works. It's the Careers and Employability Service here at Middlesex. Just to kind of reiterate what Alex said earlier with regards to how we've found things kind of progress within the pandemic with regards to shifting more to online based careers advisory. We found that we were able to engage more so with our employer networks. As you said, it's more easier that way to be able to get our employers to actually come in and present back to our students, and we've actually been able to network with more employers that way. We actually put on an annual careers fair last year at Gradstock, which was exponentially much more actually successful with regards to engagement, attendance rates, and also the array of speakers that we were able to involve. So that's really good. With regards to virtual work experiences as well, we found it to be extremely useful for our students. There's more talk around digital badging, being able to provide students with some sort of project that they can work on. We've partnered with an organization such as Bright Network, for example, which offers 3-day internships to students, where by the end of the 3rd day, they'll work on a project and then have, you know, a certificate of completion for that. We do work with schools, with the Education Liaison team. We're hoping to deliver more talks whenever essentially you guys need us. We can cover a range of employability topics, really dependent on what you're really looking for. But with regards to how we found things, with regards to the pandemic, in terms of networking, it was easier that way. In terms of offering remote experiences, we found that employers are looking to do that a little bit more so. Students are enjoying the online element. However, I think, as Alex mentioned also, it's quite important to have that face-to-face learning experience as well. So a balance between both is definitely encouraged. But yeah, with regards to what we do at MDX Works, I mean, with regards to offering careers guidance and our employer networks, we found that the shift to working virtually was actually quite positive in a way. So yeah, as I don't want to go off on a tangent, but definitely if there's any room for us to deliver workshops, whether that be virtually or in person, we can certainly kind of work with the Education Liaison team to help you out with that.
Thank you. Is there any more questions? There's some really useful links within websites that we have here that we can send to you all afterwards and share with you. So definitely get in touch with us if you would like some further information on how we can help you meet your Gatsby benchmarks. Is there any more questions? Thank you for joining us today. If you've got any more questions after this, please, again, you can email us at educationliaison@mdx.ac.uk and we'll be happy to answer your questions. But we will send a copy of the recording and the presentation to you all after the session. Thanks again for joining us.